So we'll do welcomes and introductions in just a few moments, but just inviting all of you who have joined me here today to drop below the surface of all of this activity that has been happening in your day. Taking a moment to notice the energy of your body, this whirlwind of a day, the activity that is behind you. Just giving yourself over, if you care to this moment. Maybe even drawing in a few inhalations, if you care to, through the nostrils. And have the jaws be relaxed as you let go. Some breaths might be shallow. And you may desire to draw some full body breaths if you care to. And then thinking that it might be helpful to just do a little bit breath practice that may help settle, invigorate, and balance your breath. We will engage in what is called the alternate nostril breathing technique. So for this, we're going to take our index finger and place it between our eyebrows. If you're right-handed, you can take your right hand or left hand. And then we're going to take our thumb and place it on the right nostril and take our ring finger and place it on the left nostril. And what we're going to do is we're going to breathe from one nostril at a time. So I'm just going to demonstrate, and then we will do this all at our own pace for 3 times. So taking a deep inhalation and then kind of closing off your right nostril and exhaling from your left. And then inhaling from your left nostril, closing it off and exhaling from your right. So just doing this 3 times on each side, and I'll do it with you, but just follow the pace of your breath. So breathing in, take a nice deep inhalation and close off your right nostril and exhale. Notice where the mind is. No efforting required here. Just in this moment, focusing on our breath. And once you're done with 3 rounds of this on either side, just kind of coming to observing your breath. Noticing any distractions that keep you from just feeling, being with your breath versus any sense of doing, however that may show up for you. However you may recognize the differences between doing versus being. Notice where your hands are placed in this moment. And seeing if a shift may be required to place them in a way that helps you connect with your breath. In this work, there's a lot of emphasis on breath awareness practices. So what we will be doing is a little practice called directional breathing. It offers the possibility to stabilize our practice a little bit more, opening up so that we feel more spacious, feel that our sitting here is ventilated, expansive, grounded. Oftentimes, we identify with our perceived limits of this body. Sometimes it can be challenging to contain and make space for all that we're invited to make space for in our lives. So with your eyes closed, you taking a seat, the invitation is to bring your attention to your belly, your abdomen, deep behind your navel, and let that be the source of focused energy. Take a full inhale and exhale down, 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 down through the belly, down through the perineum, the pelvis, down into the earth. And to the degree that you're able, drawing up through the earth, back up to the center. Each time the exhale going down, might you be able to go just a little bit deeper? How deep might you be able to work with here? A couple of inches, a couple of feet, a couple of yards down, a couple of 100 yards down. Just let your attention and your breath explore depth, and always coming back to the center. Do this for a round of 3 times. Inhaling and drawing the energy from the earth, and exhaling deep, deep down as you're able to go. Noticing depth, noticing the vastness here. And then come back to rest with the breath in the belly when you have completed these rounds. And now we're going to move the body-centered breath in the opposite direction. So we're going to breathe up. So directing the breath up towards the crown of your head, or just imagining it up, up, up into the sky, drawing in a celestial energy and all of the space around you. And maybe it's not possible for you. No need to struggle. Maybe it's just easier to exhale out into the space. So whatever works for you without struggling. Inviting you to touch the vast space above you. 3 breaths like this. And bringing your attention back to the center. Perhaps in some way still aware of the depth beneath you and the vastness above you. And now, from your center, we're going to breathe in and out to the right. So just moving out beyond the body, beyond the walls that may be present in the room that you're in. Perhaps some of you may have visuals accompanying this, and others not so much. So however you can connect with this sense of moving, working with all of this space and breath out to the right side of your body. Again, a round of 3. And then coming back to the center. Let's repeat this again with the left side. Breathing out to the left side of the body, seeing if you can surpass the walls of your room and going as far out as you can. And then taking all of that energy from that space in the left and bringing it back to your center. 3 rounds of this. And back to center again. And now, breathing out of the whole of the back body, including the head and the back of the shoulders, all the way down to the tailbone, the entire breath of the back, going out, 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 and drawing that in, in, in. 3 more cycles. And back to center. And now, especially from the area of the belly and the abdomen and the whole front body, taking in and releasing the breath out into the big space in front of you. How far in the front can you go? Just noticing as you do 3 rounds of this. And coming back to the center. And now, the invitation is to see if you can possibly expand out in all directions at the same time. From your center, directing down, deep, up and high, out your right side, out your left side, back body and front body. All of this space below, above, and all around you. The breath is used as a basic object of meditation for many reasons. But one excellent reason is that it's always here. And like all things, it's always changing, always flowing. It's not a stable or a fixed thing. By focusing on the breath, you're feeling something rather than concentrating on something. You're also developing your mind, training your mind to stay present to all the coming and goings of all the things without fixation. Through these practices, we're also training to notice the impermanence of all things, thoughts, sights and sounds, feelings and emotions, coming and going. Training to notice when your attention has wandered off and you become lost or fixated on something else. And just coming back to your breath, your anchor, your home base. So when you sit, placing your attention on the breath, you see the mind wandered off, bring it back to the breath with as much precision and clarity as possible, breathing in and out. In so much of this work, there's this emphasis on opening up to the world and letting go of our fixations. There can be a sense that as the breath goes out, You become part of the vast open space around you. It's a very spacious and allowing feeling. As you work with the breath as your object of meditation, you end up feeling your body and mind being synchronized. Meditation is often called the practice of open awareness, of natural wakefulness. So in the final moments of this practice, just tuning in to the presence of your breath and noticing all of this space around you and what that affords you. Well, welcome everyone. This is a much delayed welcome, but I hope you all have been healthy and well. We're in week 5 of our 8-week series, and I appreciate you all taking the time and joining us in here today. My name is Ruchika Prakash, especially for those of you who are joining in for the first time. So thank you for engaging with me on this practice. I'm curious, what did you notice? Or rather, what was your experience like in this directional breath awareness practice? You can use the chat button to answer any responses that come to mind, or the Q&A button. So what did you notice? We had one participant that said one side seemed to be a little blocked. Getting curious about that. Noticing what shows up for you. How do you feel that sense of blockedness or being stuck somewhere? Another person noticed that their breath slowed down. This chat goes faster than I can read. Somebody else noted that they felt uplifted and refreshed, especially focusing upward for me. Sense of being energized. Another person noticed that they were able to concentrate on their breathing without feeling limited by their own space. Very liberating. And just to wrap up this practice, this is one of mine. I didn't want to say this when we first got started, but this is a practice that I frequently remind myself of. Often when we're engaging in meditative practice, we feel really limited by the space of our body. But this directional breathing practice really allows us to see the vastness that's all around us. We get constrained by walls, the rooms where we find ourselves in, but just through our mind's eyes, we can notice all of the spaciousness that exists in all dimensions, whether that's below us, above us, left, right, forward, and backwards. And the idea is, can we take all of this spaciousness and just feel the lightness of this breath awareness practice? So thank you for engaging with me. And what we're going to do is today, our goal is to talk about choiceless awareness, and we'll do that in just a few minutes. But I know I have been sitting for quite some time already, and I know a lot of you have been sitting in for quite some time. So we're going to engage in a little mindful movement practice. But what I'm going to do, instead of either Megan or I leading this practice, we've been posting videos of our mindful movement practices on our YouTube channel. So I'm going to show one of these videos to you, and we're going to all engage in this practice together. These videos are led by Cheryl Repose, who's my collaborator on this project. And just to give you a sense of, you know, what these movements can bring to us and how we can access this YouTube channel. So I'm going to share my screen, and hopefully this video is going to work and my computer is not going to crash. And next we're going to work with some side stretches, opening up from the so just make sure that there's plenty of space around you. I'm going to scoot my chair back as well, and because we're going to be moving our arms around as well as our legs. So just make sure there's space around you in order to be able to engage in these movements. So I'm going to go ahead and play that. The hips, the waist, all the way up through the side of the body, maybe even the inner arm. It depends on what you sense and what you feel. So finding a way with whatever chair you're sitting in to scoot your hand underneath the cushion or around the side or under your thigh. Here I can just reach for the seat. And I'm going to extend the right arm up, breathing. I'm aware of dropping my right buttock down into the chair, breathing, reaching up, 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 feeling length through my waist on the right side, opening up through the rib cage, not going too much because I don't want to yank my shoulder out of the joint, right? So, but we just want to get really long and feeling that through the inner arm. Relax the back of your small of your back if you feel tension developing there. And then arc that right arm over the right side of your head. Now, depending upon any issues you have or whatever your preference is, you might turn your face looking down, you might turn forward, or you might look up at the sky or the ceiling, what's over there to be seen. Breathing and maybe even dipping into this a little more deeply because it's a nice juicy stretch. And then inhale that arm up and release it back down. Other side, of course. For support, right hand on the chair or something. And inhale that left arm up. Drop the left sits bone down, reaching through the waist, extending, feeling, opening even in the ribs, perhaps in the inner arm, armpit. And then relax the back and arc over to your right. So feeling how expansive the stretch might be through your whole left side. And again, your face might turn down. See how that feels for your neck. Or you might turn forward, or you might look up. Deepen into this as much as you can here with another breath or two. And then we will arc the arm back up and release it down. Next, we're going to do a 3-part breath. And we'll kind of, the sections, if you will, is kind of the lower torso, the belly, the abdomen. That's kind of the lower third. And then the midsection third is here, say the diaphragm up to the, below the sternum. And then the top third is from the sternum up to the nostril, sinus cavity, and as far into the head as what you're capable of sensing the breath. So we're going to roll the shoulder blades back, turn the palms out. And we'll inhale up a third of the way, filling the lower torso. Inhale up the second third of the way as the arms lift, and all the way up and extending through both sides of the body, and breath is filling the body and suspending the breath for just a nanosecond. Turn the palms out. Exhale, spilling out the top third of your body like you're pouring water out of a vessel. And then the midsection starts to empty, and then empty from the bottom down. One more time, roll the shoulders back, palms turn out. Inhale, filling and feeling this in the body. Second midsection, all the way up, filling, complete. Also enjoying the stretch, palms turn out. Exhale, release the top third, the midsection, and all the toxins from carbon dioxide as we exhale out.
And then a nice full oxygenating inhale, a nice full exhale. Your hands are just resting. Now we're going to move a little more deeply into spine. Last time we kind of arced forward. This time we're going to move into a seated twist. So let's take our left hand and place it on the outside of our right thigh. And depending upon what chair you're on, you might need to scooch forward so you can put your hand behind so you can support yourself, or you can hook it behind the chair. So whatever works for the chair you're in. So we're going to support ourselves with that back elbow or hands straight behind us. And we're going to inhale, and from a deep place in your body, start to twist to your right. One vertebrae at a time, turning to the right. Feeling the spiraling through your spine. Muscles are kind of getting massaged in the back. Tip of the nose, last turn. A breath or two here. Pausing whenever you need to, not forcing or pushing yourself into this. But let the body unfurl on its own with the help of the breath, and then we'll release back to center. And then from here, we're just going to kind of float right over to the other side. So right hand on the outside of the leg or chair, other arm, left arm behind you, kind of as a fulcrum, right, to help guide you into this twist. Lifting up, big breath, and then from a deep place in your body, start to spiral. The belly's turning to the left, and then everything else is coming along with it. Relax your shoulders down. They don't need to be up by your ears, right? So spiraling, noticing all the places in the body that are enjoying this kind of internal massage. Tip of the nose, last to turn. Breath here, and release back to center. Our body loves this kind of attention. Now we're going to move through the legs a little bit. So let's ground in the left foot, and we're going to lift the right leg up off the floor. And an inhale, and then we're going to exhale and just release it down. Feel it rooting down. Use your left leg for support. Lift your right leg again. Inhale. This time, exhale. Reach through the heel. Oh, feel the sensation in the back of the leg, the calf, and the hamstring. And we're going to inhale, lift the leg up, having to engage the hip joints, and release the foot down. And next, now we're going to root in the right foot. Just lift the left foot and leg up off the floor. Notice the strength that it takes, right, in the hip joint to support that. And release the foot down. Inhale, lift the foot up. Breathing, but on an exhale, ooh, give yourself a yummy stretch through the back of the calf and hamstring, toes pointing up, reaching through your heel. Several breaths here. And then inhale the foot up and release the foot down. We're going to scooch forward just a little bit to start opening up a little more in the hips and the lower back. Hands are on your quads. Just kind of tilt yourself forward a little bit. And to the right, we're going to start making some nice big circles. Let your neck and head just follow the flow of this. Don't have to tighten up or tense around anything. And then whenever you feel like it, shifting the direction, moving in the opposite direction, feeling it in the neck, the shoulders, back, lower back, hip joints, wherever you feel it. And coming back up. Now we're going to root your left foot in. We're going to take the right bent leg and take hold just below the knee or onto the shin. And just draw it up in towards the right side of your chest, right side of your belly to the degree you can. While you're here, you might want to point and flex a little bit through the foot and the ankle, massaging through that. And now what we're going to do is, and this is not necessarily going to be for everybody, especially if you have knee issues. So if you do have knee issues and can't do this next move, just find some movement where you can. And we're going to take the outside of the right ankle and place it just on the left quad below the knee. And we're going to take the right hand or the forearm, extending through the spine, and apply a little pressure, a little weight. Feel the sensations in the hip joint. Kind of letting a lot of the tissue, tendons, pressure from gravity, right? Carrying this body around. And for these years that we have it, let this open slowly. And then you might want to even tilt into it, just which deepens the sensation. And then we'll be coming back upright and unfurling that leg. And then lift the left leg up. Draw it in. Maybe point and flex through the ankles, the toes. Draw it in a little more deeply. And if you would like, if your knee allows, placing the ankle on the right quad just above the knee and pressing down in. Feeling the sensation in the hip and all those muscles, the tissues, tendons. Big breath and just tilt forward slightly. Much as your body can be with this stretch in a relaxed way. And then we'll come upright and place that foot down. And now we will come to more of a seated fold where we bend at the hip joints. So we're going to really release the spine. We're going to bend at the hip joints, okay? We're not folding in the back. Most movements, so that we can protect our back, should come from our hip joints. So if it's helpful, put your fingers in your hip joints so that you can be reminded to hinge from there. And just keep extending, 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 and release your hands down onto the floor. Release your head and neck. And then we're going to roll up one vertebrae after the other. Bring the shoulders up towards the ears. Bring your body back into the back of the chair so that you feel that support. Feel the energy moving through your body from these chair yoga movements. Feel maybe tingling aliveness through the lower torso, upper leg squats, work we've done around the sides body and the lower back, the spine, the whole back body, the chest, the shoulders, the head, and the neck. And perhaps, if you're willing, just let your eyes close and allow a little half-moon smile to spread across your face as I share this little closing verse as you sit and notice your breath and your sensations. Called Everything I'm Missing by Dana Falls. I am struggling. There's who I believe I ought to be and who I really am. It's humbling, isn't it? This being, this mystery, this me sits here radiating energy, yet I'm gripped by a nameless fear that I'm missing exactly what I came to experience. I am suffering, telling myself stories of what life should look like. And then I get the message, like a meteor, like the power coming back on after hours in the storm. This life, this extraordinary imperfection, this moment, just as it is, this is all I'm here to receive. The infuriating, limitless simplicity of day-to-day living holds everything I think I'm missing. We'll close with that.
Wasn't that something, right? Just a simple practice and how that can have the power to just let us get back into our bodies. So with this attention that we have been cultivating through this breath awareness practice, through these mindful movements, I invite you to take your seats. Elizabeth is going to lead us through the choiceless awareness practice. So as we transition, just see whatever you need to do to find your seat, to commit to this present moment.
So now we will move into a practice that builds on the work you have been doing in terms of focusing on one phenomenon versus the other. The invitation now is to take your seat, however that shows up for you. Perhaps an adjustment in posture, noticing how your body is supporting you. Noticing and observing your breath. We will be revisiting much of the same instructions as we have before, but we will ultimately be moving into a practice called Choiceless Awareness. So, moving into your breath awareness practice, for some moments, your eyes might be closed or slightly open, with your gaze resting on a spot on the floor several feet in front of you. Aware of sensations of the breath. Aware of how the body responds to the breath. Aware of the spaces or still points between the breaths. In this moment, the breath and sensations of the breath are the center stage of your attention. Settling more and more into your body, aware of the sensations in the body, contact with the chair, touch of clothes, temperature, being present with any sensations as they arise. If any sensations might capture your attention, gently labeling them as sensation with a light touch. Noticing duration, being curious about the lingering, changing, passing of these sensations. When the mind wanders, noticing, and gently bringing your attention back to awareness of the body and breath. And now, allowing attention to shift to the sense of hearing sounds, becoming particularly aware of hearing, noticing without effort. Sounds have a beginning, middle, and end. Notice how the mind wants to get involved, gently labeling sound, just letting sound be what it is. Always coming back to the anchor of the breath when you might feel a need to stabilize. And then venturing back out to observe sounds. And now, expanding awareness to venture into thinking, the realm of thoughts, regarding thoughts not as distractions, just simply observing them. They too have a beginning, middle, and end, not getting lost in the content of thoughts or thinking, placing thoughts in the foreground of awareness with sound, body sensation, and breath in the background. Perhaps labeling as thought or thinking as they arise. Seeing and letting go. Seeing and letting be. A non-reactive awareness. Thoughts moving through an open and spacious mind. Always changing. Returning to rest and breath awareness anytime you need to, before opening back up to observing thinking. Notice also that emotions arise in the body and mind. Impatience, restlessness, perhaps ease or peace. Bringing attention to the mood state. What is here for you right now? gently naming any arising or lingering emotion as emotion, seeing and letting be. And finally, moving into choiceless awareness, sitting here and opening your awareness to whatever might arise and catch your attention. In any given moment, you might be aware of some sensation arising. Gently label it sensation. Then you might notice the pressure of your backside on the chair. Sensation. In the next moment, you may be aware that you are thinking thoughts. And so labeling this as thinking, noticing, touching it all with awareness, knowing that you can always come back to the anchor of the breath if you find you might be served by the stability of that, before venturing back out to notice, to be open to whatever might capture your attention. It is choiceless, and that there is no specific or intended focus of attention. You are simply open, curious, and accepting of whatever might arise. Breath, sound, feeling, thinking. Staying present, staying awake. A relaxed, aware attention. Practicing as if your life depended upon it. And it does, of course. During these final moments, return to establish your attention in the domain of body breathing. As I read you a closing poem by Rumi, this being human is a guest house. Every morning, a new arrival, a joy, a depression, a meanness. Some momentary awareness comes as an unexpected visitor. Welcome and entertain them all, even if they're a crowd of sorrows who violently sweep your house empty of its furniture. Still, treat each guest honorably. He may be clearing you out for some new delight, the dark thought, the shame, the malice. Meet them at the door, laughing, and invite them in. Be grateful for whoever comes. because each has been sent as a guide from beyond.
Thanks, Elizabeth. What a powerful message. This idea of just inviting rather than resisting everything that shows up for us. You know, in this work, we lead people through this practice about the 8 worldly experiences that we have. And as we're almost out of time, we're not going to get into that practice. But it's this idea that these experiences that we acquire in this world, they exist as a set of 4 contrasting pairs: pleasure and pain, praise and blame, fame and disgrace, and gain and loss. Now, there's a seemingly positive side of each of these pairs, right? Praise, fame. And not only does that trigger sensations and thoughts related to pleasure, I like this, I deserve this, but there's also this clinging on, this desire to hang on to, and perhaps to intensify the experience. In all of these negative experiences, the blame, the loss, the disgrace, it not only triggers this instantaneous sensation and thoughts related to disliking, this shouldn't happen to me, I don't like this, but also too often we want to avoid them, we want to escape or deny the situation. If we look at our own emotional lives and behavior, we can begin to see that so much of our lives are governed by the pursuit of pleasure, praise, fame, and gain, and by the avoidance of pain, blame, disgrace, and loss. In mindfulness work, this could hardly be called a meaningful life. So when we reflect on these, we can really build our mental strength and cope much better with the ups and downs of life. Thinking of the trees that live on so naturally and peacefully in the 4 seasons: spring, summer, autumn, and winter. In times when we're so fortunate to have gain and benefits, happiness, pleasure, see if we can get not overwhelmed and get sucked into attachments. See if we can learn to observe these changing states and experiences. And likewise, when we face or encounter problems, adversities, conflicts, misfortunes, hardships, inviting you all to just learning to be patient, understanding, tolerant, and courageous, watching this mind of ours, learning not to react. As we know, just like with positive states, these negative states too will pass. So in your mindfulness practice, whether that's formal or informal practice, just pondering on this idea. And of course, it's easier said than done. I've been there and I do get there. The idea is, can we just begin to notice all of this clinging on to the positive things and avoidance of negative things, and just invite them all to our guest house. Just learning to embrace the positive and the negative states can really help us empower our experiences as well as our responses to those experiences. So I'm curious, and we'll get to the questions in just a moment, but I'm curious, with this practice of choiceless awareness, where you were invited to just openly monitor everything that shows up for you. And this small teaching on the 8 worldly experiences. What do you notice? What did you become aware of? And at this point in our series of webinar, I'm inviting you to see if you don't engage in stories or narratives, but I'm curious about your felt experience. What showed up for you? So one question that we got is, can you talk about meditation in the face of unavoidable and constant distractions? This could be pain, it could be another strong emotion. And in fact, our next week's webinar is going to focus on this exact topic. So we are going to focus on working with difficulties. And difficulties can show up in such different ways for all of us. For some, it could be pain. I know I experienced and dealt with that when I first got started with these practices. Or it could be a very strong emotion, just sadness or feeling of overwhelmness and anxiety. Or it could be a difficult relationship. In the next 2 webinars, we're going to be focusing and moving our mindfulness, which so far has been related to intrapersonal mindfulness. We're working on ourselves to kind of see how can we bring mindful awareness to our relationships. It's about these developing interpersonal awareness. So to the extent that you can, hang in for the next session, and we're going to be talking extensively about dealing with difficulties and how can we use these mindful practices to work with that difficult pain, that difficult thought, or a conflict that we may be experiencing. Another question that we got was that if there were other floor exercises that are available to substitute for some of the movements that we did. So on our YouTube channel, we have posted a few yoga videos as well. So feel free to access those. Other thoughts, other questions, anything that shows up for you before we end this webinar? Great. Well, so what we're gonna do, here's the invitation for homework for this week. So you're invited to engage in body scan practices. Those were the practices that we started very early on, twice this week. And we've uploaded the Choiceless Awareness practices as well on the YouTube channel 3 times this week. So body scan twice and Choiceless Awareness 3 times. And here are the invitations for the informal practices. So 2 informal practices. One is to focus on any difficulty that you may experience in this week. Like I said, this could be so differently defined for all of us. It could be a conflict you're experiencing. It could be a pain you're experiencing. Just notice what you notice about it. Get curious about it. What happens when you're in this conflict? Where can you feel it? What do you notice about it? So just paying attention to that, because we're going to discuss that in the next webinar. And the second invitation is to, again, pick one attitudinal quality. You realize that not only do we judge ourselves and we're impatient with ourselves, but we do the same thing with others, especially those close to us. So the idea is that as you're observing difficulties in your life, whether intra or interpersonally, can you invite yourself to attend to one attitudinal quality a day? So thank you again for joining me. And I'll leave you with this quote: praise and blame gain and loss, pleasure and pain. They come and go like the wind. To be happy, rest like a giant tree in the midst of them all. Thank you for joining, and I'll see you all next Wednesday.